Hello and welcome to another edition of Choose the Challenge. I am LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. And if you all are joining us for the very first time and wondering, what is Choose the Challenge? Choose the Challenge is a platform designed to have these intense conversations with women and men who are making a difference, who are challenging status quo, challenging limiting beliefs, challenging everything that may serve as impediments to keep us from being our greatest and best self. And I'm excited because today we have a very special guest on our show, none other than Lyn-Dee Eldridge. Many of you have possibly been following her, but if you've been following me, she's been on my platform several times because she has an amazing message of hope, of inspiration. And this month is both Breast Cancer Awareness and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Lyn-Dee, unfortunately or fortunately, journeyed through the dark side of both of these. But the great thing is she came out a victor. And her message of victory is one that will inspire you who are listening and give you hope and encouragement for any struggles that you may be facing today. And before we get started, I am going to show you a little video, and the next voice and face you'll see is Lyn-Dee Eldridge. Hello, Lyn-Dee. How's it going?
It is going absolutely amazing. LaWanna, do you know that I now go by Woobie?
Woobie, yes. Yes.
That's how I'm known all over South Carolina. And it is, I love it. I love it. And we could go into that, why I love it so, so much.
Well, you have been on a journey of transformation, elevation, expansion, and we're going to get into all this goodness on this show. Just to tell the audience a little bit about you, because your entire story is going to unfold in the next 50 minutes. But Woobie, aka Lyn-Dee Eldridge, is a renowned speaker, teacher, innovator, inspiration, pioneer who is also the founder and CEO of the Happiness Jungle, as well as Cuddle Me Love. And we'll get into what Cuddle Me Love is all about, and it's not what you think. But in addition to that, she is a teacher, she's a speaker, and she is an author of 2 wonderful books, one of which I have in front of me, Squeeze My Tatas, and we'll get into that, as well as do you have a copy? There you go. Tears for Fears, or Fears for Tears. Is that it?
Tears of Fears Behind Closed Doors.
Yes. And so both books are touching on the topic of the month, which is breast cancer awareness, as well as domestic violence awareness. Mm-hmm. So, Woobie, where does Woobie come from?
So, we are given names when we're born, and Lyn-Dee was my given name at birth by a woman who didn't even want me. All right, so I used Lyn-Dee for a very long time. And when my daughter was pregnant with my first granddaughter 16 years ago, she was sick with the flu. She was 8 months pregnant, sick with the flu. We were up in New Hampshire. She was laying on my lap. I was feeding her soup, taking care of her. And she says, Mom, what is the baby going to call you? And I said, I have no idea. We don't have to worry about that. When the baby comes, we'll worry about it. And sure enough, with that, she just cuddled up and I was just caressing her. She goes, oh, Mom, she goes, you're so Woobie. I was like, I'm Woobie. She goes, yeah. She said, everybody counts on you and you're kind and you're soft and you're always there for people. You're Woobie. You're Woobie, Mom. You're Woobie. So that's how Woobie was given to me. And I love that because that's an endearing name to me. So when I moved to South Carolina almost 2 years ago, I didn't know anybody here. And I said, I could be anybody I want to be. So I started introducing myself as Woobie, and it has been greatly received and complimented. So I go by Woobie now. I like it.
Well, I've changed the title here. So I am thriving life beyond breast cancer and domestic abuse with Woobie, aka Lyn-Dee Eldridge.
Uh-huh.
So let's talk about this journey, Woobie. It's we know that a lot of both men and women face both sides of the coin with both breast cancer as well as domestic abuse. And you found yourself, most people are challenged with going up one side of that mountain, right? But you found yourself on the way up thinking that you might be on the other side of down or maybe on a plateau. It's like, oh my gosh, there's another mountain to climb. And that was with domestic abuse. And I want to ask this, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. So you got these two just monumental crises facing you. But in all of this, and I'm not saying you didn't have your moments of sadness, because that we're human. But within you, there was a seed of joy, peace, happiness, exuberance that you were able to hold on to as you went through this journey. So if you could just paint us a picture about that life and then about that seed and how through that has birthed so many amazing gifts in you, to include your books and the Cuddle Me Love pillow.
Well, thank you so much, LaWanna. And I got to say, because of my journey, I came across a wonderful woman named LaWanna. And that's what happens in life, guys. It's always when your mindset is positive, it leads you to more women, people that inspire you to keep on going. And LaWanna, I just want to say thank you for being in my life.
Aww.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There we go. So what is Barbara like? She likes this, right? Because I give her my heart.
Yes.
And a matter of fact, here's your red heart.
Aw.
Yep. Aw. So
and look, and here's yours.
And you see what I'm saying? Those hearts are all over the world, and I've been giving them out for 50 years, and I had no idea. So let's start with domestic violence, since that was the first thing that challenged me in my life. So when I grew up in a very toxic home. I was not loved. It was mental abuse, physical abuse, some sexual abuse. It was horrific. But here's what I recognized. I recognized that I was not loved behind closed doors, just like the title of that first book, Tears of Fears Behind Closed Doors. I wasn't loved. I wasn't liked. I wasn't appreciated. I was put down, knocked down in every shape, form that you could ever imagine. And some of you can relate to it. A lot of you can relate to it. But what I found out is that when I walked outside my door, my friends loved me. And they kept on saying that I inspired them all my life. And they would come and speak with me when they were having challenges. So I want us to realize that we are born with greatness. And sometimes it's not our loved ones that pulls it out. Sometimes it's our peers that pull it out. And I always remember that they were my light, and we would have so much fun and we would laugh. And they really never even knew what went on behind closed doors, which was absolutely horrific. I cried more behind closed doors than I care to really acknowledge, at this point in time in my life. But things happen in your life for reasons. And I always say that, live life on purpose. So when I grew up, it was in a very toxic home. And I decided at the age of 18, after I met this wonderful man, he was Prince Charming. He said things to me that my family never said to me, that I was wonderful and back in the 70s, when somebody was pretty, you called them a fox. And he said, "You're a fox." And I never heard those words before by people that were behind the door. And he just gravitated my heart. I got married at the age of 18, only to find myself married to a narcissist man. And there was domestic violence that went on. Here I am thinking I was leaving the challenge of abuse, only to marry into it because the man was wearing this phenomenal disguise. So in my book, Tears of Fears Behind Closed Doors, I take you through the journey of not only growing up in an abusive home, but also marrying into a domestic violence relationship. And I don't use his name in my book. I call him Anus, because that's what abusers are to me. They're just anus. And we have to understand that no matter what we're going through in life, that if we could just hold on to the hope and we could hold on to being inspired by others. There was a high school teacher of mine. I was in a drama class. I love drama. Go figure. And her name was Miss Powers. Miss Powers believed in me more than anybody believed in me. She saw things in me that I didn't even see in myself. She gave me the vision that I was way more than what my life was being dealt. And through that and through my friends and everything, I realized that I don't know what I'm going to be when I grow up, but I think I'm going to be something else. And, you know, through that marriage of mine, I was with him for 6 years. And I was that woman, just like most women and men, that believe that we could change things in our lives, that we don't, maybe it is us, you know, that's having the challenges. So I have to ask the audience that's listening, if you're saying sorry a lot, that's a clue. If you're trying so hard to please your partner and it's not working, I got to ask you to ask yourself, is it really you? Because I remember even being suicidal at that point, pulling my hair out, wondering, how can I make this marriage better? I wanted so badly for him to love me and for me to be the best wife that I could. But you know what happened? It didn't happen because it wasn't me. It was him. And when we realized that, now I don't like the blame game. I'm not into the blame game. But when you really look, if you'll step outside of your body and look at your life as if you were watching a movie on Hallmark, when we watch movies, we always say, oh my goodness, if I was that person, I would da 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 da. But in our own lives, we weren't doing that. So I had to step out of my life to say, wow, if I was that person, would I stay? Well, I did stay. I stayed for a long time. And I finally got pregnant. It took me a long time to get pregnant. I had tubular pregnancies. And then I got pregnant with my daughter at the age of 25. And I was like, wow. And I knew it was a good pregnancy. So there was no way that I was going to do anything to damage that pregnancy. And when that baby was born, things changed in my life. You see, you can mess with me all you want, but when you're now messing with a cub, things change. And I know that there are parents out there that want to protect their children. And I know that there are parents out there that are trying to stay in a marriage thinking that it's healthier for the children, where in fact it is not, because your walls are very thin. And you may think your babies are sleeping. They're not sleeping. They're hearing every word, every argument, every yelling match, every hit, everything that's going on. And you think that you're staying with this person because you want to wait for the children to get older. And I'm here to tell you, teach your children how to be victors, right? How to be champions, how to be able to be surviving, how to be able to say, it's okay to eat stale peanut butter and crackers if that's what we have to do, because the person that you're getting ready to leave is threatening you with all different things. They're telling you who's going to want you. You couldn't make it without me. I'm not going to give you a cent. You are going to have to eat dirt. All of whatever they're saying to you, guess what? They're just trying to hold you down. And I want you to realize that be willing to eat stale crackers to feed the children chicken. That's what I did. I said, I don't care. I don't care. Because when that baby was born and the abuse was happening, I looked down at my baby girl when she was 15 months old. And I was like, you know what? I'm not bringing you up in this. I'm not going to do this to you. And I looked up at Anus when he came home in a rage. And I said, we're getting a divorce. That's it. We're done. And of course, he said all those things, to try to tear me down. I'll never make it. I'm not worthy. I'm no good. I'm too fat. No one's going to love me. Well, first of all, I wasn't leaving you for anybody. And secondly, I don't care about your words anymore because I got to take care of this cub. I got to take care and make sure that she is at least raised in a healthy home. A healthy home doesn't mean I had a lot of money. I was broke as a joke. A healthy home meant that there was more joy and peace and calmness in it. So there is a safe way to leave. And I want everybody to realize that there is a safe way to leave. So if you are thinking by any chance or the means that you want to leave this abusive relationship, but you're afraid of your partner, you're afraid of what they're going to do, I want you to know that there is a safe way, and I want you to reach out to the 800 lines. I want you to get my book, Tears of Fears Behind Closed Doors, because it's not a woe's me. It's to help you understand that you can get out and you can get out safely, but there are things that you have to do to prepare for this.
I want to just interject right there, and I love that you prefaced it by encouraging those that find themselves in this precarious state. What do you do? And you're right, you don't have to stay, but there is a safe and strategic way to make your exit, because the one thing is we want you to be safe. And I want to preface this by saying this episode here, we're not psychologists, psychiatrists, experts, but Lyn-Dee is sharing her lived experience. And this show is for infotainment purposes only. If you have any concerns, whether it's about your mental well-being, your emotional, physical well-being, please reach out to professionals to help guide you to a safe place. And again, Lyn-Dee's amazing book here, I want to put it up here for them, Tears of Fears Behind Closed Door by Lyn-Dee Eldridge. And before we end the show, we'll talk more about how you can get in touch with Lyn-Dee to learn more about her story, for speaking engagements, to get get copies of her book, and much more. So, Lyn-Dee, let's go back to the story, because you said that you endured a lot as a child, as a teen, got married, endured more. But when you had a child, you had a daughter, you said, no. I don't want her to have this experience. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your relationship with your daughter today, and how much of your past have you shared with her? Because sometimes as parents, we don't want to share the dark side, right? We just want them to know life's always been good. You see the testimony, but I don't want you to know about the test. Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell my daughter the full story until she was 18 years old, because she still had to see him. And I did not want to poison her mind. Look, my mind was poisoned when I was growing up from my biological father. And I never got to meet my biological father. My parents got divorced when I was about 1.5 years old. And it was horrible what my mother would say about my father, that he was a no good son of a bee. He was worthless. He never wanted anything to do with us. Meanwhile, I didn't know for one Hanukkah, because I'm Jewish, one Hanukkah, that my brother, my sister, and I, we got bicycles. And right there, that was a little bit weird to me, because my mother never bought me anything new. My brother and sister, they got things that were new, but these were new bicycles, and they were for Hanukkah. And she claimed that she bought them, where in fact, they came from my biological father. I didn't find that out until I met my biological father when I was 36 years old. Now, let me just say that when I was 8 years old, my biological father wanted to see his children. He was living in California. We were living in New York. He sent us plane tickets. My sister and I went. And I'll tell you, I was a rotten kid. My mother brainwashed me so badly. And I heard so many bad things about this man who says that he's my dad, that by the time I met him, when I got off the plane, and he was excited to see us, and I was a tomboy, I had a really bad attitude. And I looked at him and I said, "So you're my dad?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm your dad." And I said, "Well, you're a no good son of a bee and you owe me." Because my mother told me when I get there, make sure he buys me toys and make sure he does things for me. So all of this was in my mind. I knew that when I had a child, I did not have the right to poison her against her biological father. I only had to protect her against harm. She had the right to know her dad. She had the right to have a relationship with him. My job was to protect her. And that whole story is in the book. So when my daughter was growing up, if I needed to speak about him, I called him a different name. I don't think I called him Anus, but I know I didn't use his real name because I never, ever wanted her to be poisoned by the things that were going on with me. And I hope that makes sense to everybody because I hear it all the time, right? He's not paying child support. She's not doing this. He's not doing this. She's not doing this. They're not going to be able to, see the children. Guys, never, ever, ever use your children as the weapon, ever. Because what you're doing is you are carrying on ugly behavior. And it's not fair to the kids. So allow them to love their other parents while you just keep them protected. You could go to court. Sometimes the justice system doesn't work in your favor. It didn't work in mine. I had a man's judge. It was absolutely horrific. And all I knew is that as long as I was there to hold her and love her, that was good enough. But when at the age of 11, she made the choice never to see him again because he was doing things that were just beyond your wildest imagination. And I'm sure that a lot of you could relate to that. But again, it wasn't up to me. It wasn't my place to poison her mind. She had to see it. She had to feel it. And at 11 years old, that's when her eyes opened. And she says, "Mommy, I never want to go back to him. I never." And I said, "Okay." But I still never poisoned her mind until she was 18 years old. And she asked me, she says, "Okay, Mom, I'm kind of an adult. Can you really tell me the truth?" I said, "Let's go." I said, "Have a seat." Because I couldn't have damaged her mind any more than he damaged her mind. Does that make sense?
Yes. So Lyn-Dee, where did this inner strength come from?
LaWanna, I think it came from a lot of personal development. I got really deep into personal development at the age of 26. It was Mr. Les Brown's voice that I first heard. He was the one who gave me the strength to look up at Anus when he walked in the house and say, "We're getting a divorce." And then I got addicted to personal development because I heard words from Les Brown's mouth. I felt like he was talking to me. I had greatness within me. Never allow anybody to tear you down. You could be anybody that you want to be. You have it in you. And I got so addicted to personal development. You remember Zig Ziglar?
Yes.
I was a student, a physical student of Zig Ziglar's. I was in classrooms while he was the teacher. Jim Rohn?
Yes.
I was a student of his. Maya Angelou?
Yes.
I was a student of hers. I got addicted. So you have to find where can you grab your inner strength so you could start believing in you because you're worth it. You are worth it. You are special. You are unique. And you have things inside of you that just are dying to shine that nobody else does. And through this process, I became a mentor.
Let me ask you that before you go to the mentor piece. As you said, you started getting addicted. You found yourself around these positive messages.
Mm-hmm.
But at what point do you feel, or can you remember when the light actually clicked? You know, we can be hearing things, but there's a lot of ash and trash and muck that it has to get through before it literally penetrates and takes root. At what point did you kind of like shake it off and realize I'm a new person?
I had to survive. I had to learn how do I survive? How do I pay rent on my own? How do I raise my daughter in a positive manner that I wasn't growing up in? I was hungry, like Les Brown says, right?
Yeah,
you got to be hungry. I was hungry to find out the truth about who am I and what are my abilities. Because I was told I was stupid. I was told I wasn't worthy of going to college. And you know what? I'm grateful because I invested in myself, but it was all through personal development. I invested in being a student of Zig Ziglar's, Jim Rohn, Maya Angelou, a lot of the greatness, Les Brown. I invested in myself. And I was a student. So you have to be willing to be a student, and you have to be willing to look in your reflection and be honest with you.
Gotcha. I love that. And sometimes, and to those that are listening, we're here with Woobie, aka Lyn-Dee Eldridge, and we're talking about domestic violence as well as breast cancer awareness. And her life story, unfortunately or fortunate for us, touched both sides of this devastating coin, but she came out living victoriously.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to pause, even in our prayer, and look around and find out where is the right energy. And this isn't about woo-woo to those that are listening. This is about being around people who are going to inspire, lift you up, remind you that, as you just said, as Les Brown says, there is greatness within us. We were created by the divine. So how could there be anything but greatness, right? But sometimes we get so downtrodden, so beaten, so victimized just because we happen to be born in a situation that we don't know how to break free from the shackles. But if we lean in and if we still ourselves, I truly believe that there are those angels that come around. And it may be a Les Brown. It may be someone you're listening to on the radio. It may be someone whose chair you're sitting in as you're getting your hair done, and they're just speaking positive words to you. Who are you leaning into is my question. And then sometimes it may be that still small voice within.
Yeah.
That's coaxing you, right? Pushing you forward.
But you know what else you have to do? You have to change your environment. You have to change the people you're hanging out with. You are just like the 5 people that you're chilling out with. If they're complainers, guess what you are? You're a complainer. And complainers are victim-minded mindsetters, right?
Yeah.
So when I could feel that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be around that anymore. So I found new people that attended what I was attended, that wanted more for themselves, and we would help each other through it. So if I would say anything negative, guess what? They would say, well, why would you say that? Oh, I said it, didn't I? You know, or we had rubber bands, right? A lot of with the rubber bands. If you say something negative, you pop the rubber band. Boy, is that a good reminder. But LaWanna, you're one of the inspirers in the world today, okay? You also have grown up, and you have also been dealt some yuck, and you have also entered into the positive places where your mindset could grow healthier. So now you're a mentor. You know, when I'm speaking on stages or I'm mentoring somebody, they have Zig Ziglar, they have Jim Rohn, they have Maya Angelou, they got all of these people that are inside of me because I won't allow anything negative. And here's another thing. When I'm around negative people, I get very quiet. because I'm trying to think, how do I exit out of here?
I know, it's like the walls start to rise, right?
Exactly. And they'll look at me and they're like, are you okay? I'm like, you know what? I'm late for an appointment. I got to go. And I don't have to go anywhere, but I got to go. So,
Yes.
like the slight edge philosophy is what I talk about a lot. You got to start changing. I didn't say that, I have a lot of people in my past that I absolutely love, but I had to leave them. And when I talk to them today, guess what? They haven't changed because they're still hanging around with Mark. And me? No, absolutely not. I will not. I look for an exit. I wait patiently and then I leave. And I come home and I'm like, I'm so happy to be home. And then I talk about what are the things am I grateful for? But most importantly, I praise myself for the things that I accomplished in a day. And it may not be much, but anything positive that I have done, I praise myself for, because you have to be your biggest cheerleader.
Yes. Yeah, I love what you just said. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. And that goes back to really being able to love who you are, scars and all. Right? And realize this is the life I have. I have one life to live.
Yeah.
Either I'm going to live it on fire, sold out for me, or I'm not.
That's right. That's right. And your scars, be proud of those scars. I am proud of every scar internally that people cannot see, externally that people can see. I'm very, very, very humbled and proud that I'm a survivor.
Yes.
So you can bulletproof yourself, but you have to give yourself a chance, and you have to ask yourself. I'm going to ask everybody, how old are you? Now, I can't hear you say your age, but how old are you? Because I'm 62. I'll be 62 coming up this month, right? How old are you? So it took you this long to become who you are today. And then you think that, poof, you're just going to change overnight. That's kind of impossible because we are a work in progress, right? So I want you to realize that it is never, ever too late to start becoming great. You don't have to be great to get started. You just have to start so you can become great. And you are going to hear yourself say things that the old you was saying, even the old you was yesterday. And you're going to say, oh, I don't want to say that anymore. I don't want to say that anymore. And you will start catching it because you want to.
Well, we're going to take a little break and we're going to talk about our sponsor today, which is Cuddle Me Love. And then we'll get back and talk a little bit about breast cancer awareness and how Cuddle Me Love came into being.
Hi, I'm Ariana, and I want to talk to you today about why people all over America are talking about the Cuddle Me Love body pillow. This pillow is incredible. It's helping people with health issues, whether body aches, anxiety, stress. People are dealing with some serious issues, loneliness, depression, and this is the perfect gift. Get one for yourself today and get one for those you care about. The Cuddle Me Love body pillow. It's the best. I can't imagine sleeping without it. Get yours today.
I love my Cuddle Me Love pillow.
Tragedy comes treasures. Amazing. Unbelievable.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about that evolution, this book, and your journey with breast cancer.
Okay. So 20 years after my first marriage, and I became everything and more, an entrepreneur. I owned a hair salon. I owned a pet store. Became one of the top leaders in multi-level marketing, company called Legal Shield. Maybe some of you have heard about it. And I met my second former husband, and I was wowed. He was different than any gentleman that I've ever met before. And I mean that with all my heart. We were married for 14 years. I found out that I had the breast cancer. But during that time, him and I, we were having our challenges, but neither one of us wanted to get a divorce. I became a caretaker of my mom, Hurricane Francis. That was a wild ride. But I often asked myself, how come I'm the chosen one? When she has two kids that she treated like a king and a queen growing up, how come I'm the one that has to take care of her? And you know, it's really funny. God never gives you more than you can handle. And we pray for peace. We pray for growth. We pray for things, right? So it ended up that I became the caretaker of my mom because nobody else was stepping forward to her. I learned so much about the assisted living community that I became now a speaker for the assisted living community, for their associations, and I was speaking at conventions, and I do a program with our elderly loved ones in the assisted living called A Pocket Full of Joy. So whatever you're going through, I want you to realize that there's always a purpose for it. You may not know why. I never knew why until all of a sudden this light started shining through. Well, during this time that I was caretaking for my mom, like I said, my former husband and I, we were having our challenges. So we were separated. Neither one of us wanted a divorce. I canceled over 21 speaking engagements throughout the United States when I was taking care of my mom for that first year. And there was one speaking engagement. It was up in New Hampshire, and that was my hometown where my health insurance was. It was called Families in Transition. I said, I can't miss this one. There's something pulling me that I can't cancel this one. God works in mysterious ways. And I got a caretaker to come in to take care of my mom just for a few days, 4 days. That was it. And I went up to New Hampshire and I figured, you know, while I'm there, I might as well go for my checkup. I feel great. There's nothing wrong with me, but I should go for my checkup. It was in September. And that's where I found out I had the breast cancer. Wasn't even expecting that one to happen. The doctor comes in and she looks at me and she said, when was the last time you gave yourself a breast cancer checkup? And I said, oh, I do. You know, I feel and everything. And she goes, when did you say you were leaving? And I said, I have to leave tomorrow. I'm speaking, so I'll be leaving on Thursday to go back to Florida. I'm a caretaker of my mom. And she's like, hold on a second. She leaves the room and she comes back in with her assistant. And she said, I have to tell you something. And I normally don't do this until we really do some more testing, but you've already gone for 2 mammograms. She goes, you have breast cancer. I was like, wow. I didn't even know how to process that. And I said, really? I said, how come I don't feel it? I don't feel it at all. You know, there's nothing. And she goes, well, she said, because if you didn't have a mammogram, we would never have known it. And neither would you have, because it was so deep down underneath your nipple area that you wouldn't have known about it until it started to grow. So we believe that it's in the very early stages, but we need to do a biopsy. Can you just stay for 1 more day? I said, I could stay for 1 more day. Because now this is my health, right? So I called up my caretaker in Florida. She was okay with it. I told her, please don't tell my mom about why I have to stay an extra day earlier or later. Just take care of her and I'll see you guys on Friday. or on Saturday. And it was confirmed that I had the breast cancer. So at that time, my former husband was also up in New Hampshire. And after the doctor's appointment, we both agreed that we would have dinner before we went our separate ways. So I meet him at the restaurant. And I'm just trying to process what just happened in the last 3 hours and what was told to me. And we meet. We're sitting, across from one another. He also went for a physical at the VA. So, of course, I immediately said, "How did your checkup go?" And he proceeded to say, "Oh, everything is fine." I said, "Okay." And he never asked me how my checkup went, because obviously he thought that it went very well, I'm assuming. So we're talking and we're talking and we're talking. And all of a sudden, he looks at me and he goes, "Oh my God," he said, "well, how did things go at your doctor's appointment?" And I just looked at him. I didn't even know how to say it. And one tear just started rolling down my face. And I said to him, "I'm about to blow your doors off." I said, "I found out that I have the breast cancer. I never owned it. I always called it the breast cancer." And he goes, "What?" I said, "That's what I found out. And they've already done 2 mammograms. They did an ultrasound. And that was my afternoon." And he just looked at me. And I said, "So let me ask you something." And I said, "Babe, do you want a divorce?" And he goes, "I don't want a divorce." I said, "I don't want a divorce either." I said, "Whatever is going on in our lives, we could fix it. We were with each other for 14 years and it wasn't a domestic violence relationship. It was a loving relationship. We had our challenges though, don't get me wrong." And I looked at him and I said, "If there was ever a time to reconcile, it's now. I want you by me. I'm not high maintenance. I just want you to hold me at night. I want you to tell me everything is going to be okay." And he couldn't do that. So I had to make a decision. If somebody doesn't want to be with you during the hardest part of your life, no matter how much they tell you they love you, you got to make a choice, and only you can make the right choice for you. I realized at that time I was alone, even though I had my kids and my granddaughters, but I was alone. And I was like, wow. So there was a few things that happened. It's in the book, Squeeze My Tatas, You're Only One Mammogram Away from Knowing. I had to go back to Florida, make sure that my mom was going to be okay, made sure that she had the proper care. My sister wasn't going to help. My brother wasn't going to help. Nobody was helping with Hurricane Francis. So I had to make sure she was okay. And then I had to drive from Florida back to New Hampshire. And I was very accustomed of long drives. That was awesome for me. But I had to stop in South Carolina. And in South Carolina, that's where my former husband was staying. And that would have been the halfway point from Florida to New Hampshire. And I just wanted a night's rest before I arrived back to New Hampshire, knowing that my former husband was there. So I called him and I said, "I'm going to stop off in South Carolina, the halfway point. Can I stay with you?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay." So I head up and I made a few stops. I went to New York. I went to Pennsylvania to see some friends before I went to New Hampshire. And when I arrived in Pennsylvania, which was the first stop after South Carolina, I called him up and I said, "I don't understand. I don't understand why you wouldn't have wanted to spend that night with me, knowing that I was going to New Hampshire to take care of the breast cancer." And he gave me his excuse, which was bogus. And I said to him, "You know, Mark," I said, "this isn't going to work." I said, "We're going to get a divorce." And we did. And I was lonely at night. I had my kids and I had my granddaughters, and they were wonderful. But at night, I was lonely. So I created this pillow that hugs me, and I didn't feel lonely. I felt very safe, and I felt like I was being loved and held. You see, you could replace anything or anybody, even if it's simulated, if your mindset will allow you to. And I was sleeping so well. I recovered. I had the surgery. I had a lumpectomy. And I just kept on moving forward. I went back to Florida with this pillow, and I loved my pillow. So now I'm speaking on stages, sharing my journey, and it was on the stages for entrepreneurs, reinventing yourself, right? Doing whatever it takes to make your business go forward. So I was sharing with them about my journey with the breast cancer and the mindset and how you could replace things. And I told them about the pillow, and everybody wanted the pillow. They were, after I got off stage, they're running to me with credit cards. How do I order the pillow? How do I order the pillow? I'm like, there's no pillow. I don't have a pillow. You can't buy my pillow. And then the next day I could feel God going like this. Hello. You keep asking for things. Hello. Create it. So I created Cuddle Me Love. And now thousands of people around the world are not only comforted for emotional support, but for physical support. And now I work with nonprofits. I just did a fundraiser for a nonprofit here in Greenville, South Carolina, called the Myers Center for Special Needs Children. 104 children have the Cuddle Me Love body pillow, and it is literally making such a big difference in their life and in their rest. These are special needs children with all different challenges, right? Oh my goodness. So I called up my former husband when the pillow was starting to be successful on its own. The pillow has just a life of its own. And I said, I got to thank you for that divorce. He goes, what? I said, so help me God. I got to thank you for the divorce, because if you were holding me at night, I would have never created this pillow that is now comforting people all over the world, from widows to the elderly to children, for men and women, open heart surgery, all of it. I said, so thank you. And he's like, you're crazy. Now, I also want to say to you, because I forgave him for his weaknesses, you see, you have to forgive people that don't serve you well, because the forgiveness is for you, not for them. You don't have to call and say it. You just have to feel it inside of you so you can let go. When the doctor said to me, you need to take all the stress off your plate, anything that's stressing you out, and stop eating all the sugar. I said, okay. One of the things I had to do was to release the disappointment that I had from my former husband. So I forgave him. Poof, you're gone, right? And today he has to watch the Cuddle Me Love body pillow become so successful, because happiness is the best victory.
Yes.
Live life on purpose. Isn't that crazy?
I love that. Dr. George Fraser, he always says, bless and release.
Yes.
You know, and sometimes we think, oh, we've got to hold on to this relationship or this situation. But if it is no longer serving you, it's okay. You know, season, season, lifetime.
That's right.
And we have to be able to know the difference. And Lyn-Dee, I can't believe we are already out of time. Love you. Love your story. This has just been amazing. I encourage you, if you want to know more about Lyn-Dee, sign her up for any speaking engagement, get her book, or get the Cuddle Me Love pillow. You can go to cuddlemelove.com. You can contact her at wecare@cuddlemelove.com or 603-660-6010. And I'm giving a testimonial here. I don't know how many pillows I've purchased for myself, for my family. My father, who's 92, uses his pillow every single day. Mom, who's 86, was the skeptic until she got COVID a year and a half ago. And now she does not go anywhere without her Cuddle Me Love pillow, because it allowed her to deal with some of the breathing issues that she was having. So Again, it's an amazing pillow. It's about innovation, and as you said, Lyn-Dee, out of our trials and tests and tragedies, there's blessings on the other side, but you have to be willing to go through, right?
Mhm.
Right?
You have to
There's
be
blessings
willing.
on the other side.
Yeah, you got to be willing to shine the light. And LaWanna, you are one of my angels in my life. You are one of the women in my life that when I think, because we all have feelings, I'm not saying I never cry. That would be really ridiculous for me to say, right? But when I think about, you know, what am I doing? I think of you and I remember a lot of our discussions. So I have to say thank you for being a positive force in my life. I love you. I adore you. I cherish our friendship more than words could ever say. I am so grateful that you are in my inner core circle. Thank you.
Thank you. Feeling is mutual. And that's the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are watching, you never know how God will bring people into your life. I mean, believe it or not, as close as Lyn-Dee and I are, we have physically never been in each other's presence, but it doesn't seem that way. I think just the energy, and fortunately, we are going to make it happen. Life has been a little wonky for me this year, but I thank you, Lyn-Dee, for your prayers and just giving and sending love to Dad. He's always talking about who's your friend in my pillow, the lady who had been at my pillow.
I want to just say one more thing, LaWanna.
Yes.
And you said it, but I want to really emphasize it. Guys, if you stay where you are, you're not allowing yourself to walk through the doors that are waiting for you, because there's some great things behind those doors. And as long as you stay where you are keeping those doors closed, but you keep praying for change and peace when you won't even allow the doors to open. You could stay where you are and you can at least peek in to see, ooh, and if you like it, there's a way for you to keep walking through those doors. So you could be happier, live life the way you want to, because life is way too short. I love you guys. Contact me.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so very much, Lyn-Dee Woobie, for joining us. We look forward to having you back on one of our other platforms, especially to those of you that do not know, I have a show that comes on every Saturday called Power of the Pen, where we salute and celebrate authors and their amazing works. And I think that this is also a good time to spotlight you again with your book and how people can get in touch with you that way as well. So thank you. Thank you. And you know what? I just thought about something, Lyn-Dee. When I come up to visit you, I think we should do a special broadcast.
All right. Let's do it. Your room awaits you.
I know. We're going to make it happen.
I know. So we're going to make it happen, because that's what happens. Great people stick with great people and come up with great things all the time.
Yes,
so don't worry about where you are today. Think about the possibilities of tomorrow. And you may not know what they are, but when you hang around greatness and you put, the positive force within you, it starts shining through, because everybody has greatness within.
Yes. So to those of you that have joined us, we look forward to seeing you for our next episode of Choose the Challenge. And just remember that in life, when opportunity intersects with your vision, success is inevitable. Until next time, be blessed, everyone. Bye-bye.